China's digital yuan just processed 2.3 trillion in transactions. That's literally an 800% gain from 2023. Project mBridge hit 55 billion in cross-border payments. And on December 16, China shut down around 400k Bitcoin miners in a single day. This is a clash for monetary supremacy, state-controlled CBDCs versus the permissionless crypto. And the winner will determine the future of the finance. Today I am breaking down the CBDC versus decentralized race with all the relevant data we have right now. Like the China's interest-bearing digital yuan, why 130 plus countries are building CBDCs, and whether the programmable state money will kill or coexist with the crypto. 130 plus countries are now building CBDCs. That's literally 94% of central banks. And 11 countries are already launched. The countries like Jamaica, Bahamas and Nigeria and Eastern Caribbean, etc. In this race, the China leads with 2.3 trillion processed and 3.4 billion transactions since 2020. On January 2026, China made digital yuan interest-bearing the first major CBDC to pay yields. e-CNY transactions just increased around 800% since 2023 to 2025. mBridge, that's a cross-border CBDC, have a volume around 55 billion, and in that case 95% is from the digital yuan itself. The interest-bearing wallets linked to demat deposit rates launched in 2026. This is not actually an experimentation at this scale, this is actually deployment at population scale. CBDC can program with expiration date, use it or lose it model, and they can restrict on specific regions, like you can only use in China or America, and they can induce the purchase restrictions as well, like you can't buy alcohol with that money, like you can't do any unauthorized purchase with that, etc. etc. The China's digital yuan, the central bank set rules and standards and operate core infrastructure. This is a direct quote from PBOC Governor Lee. In this environment, every transaction can be visible to central banks and it should be in a real time. Unlike cash is like anonymous transactions, but in the case of crypto, it's pseudo-anonymous. But interestingly, CBDC is fully transparent. According to China's model, commercial banks handle wallets, but PBOC control data layer. In this situation, central banks can literally freeze accounts without any court orders. They integrated social credit systems where they can set spending permissions as well. Like unapproved political activity, that means your account is restricted. So they are watching every move of you very closely. This is not actually a conspiracy theory I am just talking right now. This is the actual architecture of CBDC. CBDCs are designed for centralized control. But it comes to crypto is literally permissionless. Bitcoin has no CEO, no headquarters, no off or on switch that CBDC have. And Bitcoin has a fixed supply of 21 million, and that's literally hard-coded. Government can't inflate the supply in this case. And Bitcoin is censorship resistant. Even if the China bans mining, the Bitcoin will still work decentralized without any problem. Bitcoin is self-custody, like you own the keys, you own the coins, governments can't freeze your tokens, no state can seize. But in the perspective of CBDC, central banks control at the protocol level itself. In the decentralized environment, the innovations itself permissionless, like the DeFi built on Ethereum. Currently, DeFi hold around 50 billion in TVL. There is no central authority, they are managing this trading. And stablecoins has around 200 billion supply, and everything will be peer-to-peer. But in the case of CBDC, every transactions need approval. That means every innovations that they are going to make need an approval as well. The crypto value prop is not convenience, it's sovereignty. You own your money, the state doesn't. Do you think CBDC and crypto will coexist or not? In the case of authorization states, China and Russia and Iran is leading in the CBDC environment, but in the perspective of US and Europe, they are treating it as a liberal democracy. That means crypto plus CBDC. So they need a coexistent framework. It is not going to be a game that winner takes all. It is a parallel systems serving different values. Now let's discuss who all are fighting with each other. In the case of cross-border payments, mBridge, China, UAE, Thailand, Saudi Arabia, and Hong Kong. There are around 55 billion in transactions bypassing SWIFT entirely. If Saudi's oil price in yuan via mBridge, then the petrodollar will cracks. In the case of stable coins, USDC and USDT combined have around 200 billion in supply. CBDCs are now targeting stablecoin users. China's interest-bearing yuan competes with dollar stablecoins. The question here is that the CBDC can provide the better user experience than Tether on Tron. And battleground fraud is that Europe's privacy choice, the digital euro. Before 2030, like per ECB, there should be a chance of digital euro, but it's unlikely before 2030. And GDPR versus surveillance. The question here is that Europe can build privacy-preserving CBDC. If it is a yes, then they can build a template for liberal democracies. Now let's discuss who will win in this battle war. In the short-term perspective, like 2026 to 2028, CBDC can win on transaction volume, government adoption, and the institutional infrastructure. But on other hand, the crypto can win on the perspective of store of value, the permissionless innovation, and the ideological appeal narrative, like the freedom narrative. In the long-term perspective, like 2030 plus, what I am thinking is that CBDC can dominate the domestic transactions. In the cross-border value transfer, crypto will dominate the CBDC, and maybe a parallel system will emerge. That is the combination of official economy plus shadow economy. That's CBDC plus crypto. We need to watch what is going to happen. The critical nuance here is that China already proved that CBDCs can scale in a certain level. China also proved that why people need a crypto capital control, because they have the surveillance and confiscation risk. CBDCs are better tech for the governments, and crypto is a necessary tech for the citizens. In order to wind up here, the monetary race is not about CBDC versus crypto, it is all about control versus freedom altogether. In this case, we assume both coexist in a tension. You can follow CBDC news monthly, and my name is Saleh. In this channel, we are discussing macro aspects of crypto and new digital economy. If you love this type of content, don't forget to subscribe. The future of money is not about one system, it should be a choice, and you need to make sure that you understand both perspectives.